Welcome, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Smarter Tomorrow, a podcast by Eco Smart Home Pros, where we talk about smart tech, integration, and all things technology. All things technology, yeah. It's cool to be in the studio now instead of online. I know the last every episode has been basically online or remote with Steven or myself.
Right. That's good to actually be here.
Yeah, back from California. I'm here for the foreseeable future. So, yeah, it's been great. So today we're talking about smart audio specifically, as well as other things that go along with that, other upgrades to look for if you're doing smart audio and integrations that tie into that. So I guess we should start with what is smart audio. So when you think of smart audio, what are you thinking about?
Well, it's less of like the Bluetooth speakers and stuff and more of like the more fancy systems, similar to Sonos and Josh and even, the simple Google Alexas and Google Alexas, yeah.
Google Alexa. There was a comma in there in my brain.
Alexis. Think more of like the fancier like home systems, Google Nest, Amazon Alexa, Sonos even does their own, or like they're one of the more like primary brands for smart audio systems. Because with just like a generic wireless system, you have, like a UE Boom or the JBL speakers, the big party packs that people bring to events and stuff that are the size of a small trash can and can blow out a stadium.
Yeah.
Those are more of like a wireless system where you just connect with Bluetooth to that one speaker, or depending on the brand, has the ability to connect to a couple. But with a smart audio system, you can do Sonos or Josh, even like I said, the Alexas and Googles at home, and those will play in all those different rooms just because you told it to.
Right.
As long as they're all on the same network. Like that's the big caveat, is that you have wireless networks that don't use Wi-Fi, but the smart audio ones do.
Right. Yeah, so I guess for me, going a little bit into that, when I'm thinking of smart audio, it's not just Bluetooth versus Wi-Fi or whatever, but also oftentimes almost all times, they'll pair like a voice assistant in with it. Alexa, you mentioned, like the Google Assistant. Sonos even has some stuff like that, where it'll actually talk back to you. But then also integration with other stuff in your house. So, cameras, door locks, literally anything. Those smart audio systems, at this point, we can integrate in with pretty much whatever you want.
Right, and use them as the control instead of your phone.
Yeah.
Or an app, like I guess not an app because that would be your phone, but
Yeah, exactly. It'll integrate all that stuff. So instead of, you can still use your phone, but instead of doing that, you would use your voice or a touchpad or something like that.
Right.
And then that audio can be, not only the voice be integrated into everything else, but also the audio coming out can also be integrated to other things as well.
Right.
So the other thing is multi-room capabilities. Oftentimes with Bluetooth speakers, you can pair them and have, a stereo setup or several rooms, but it's really limited to the range of Bluetooth.
Right.
Where smart audio, because they are Wi-Fi connected, you can really have, as far as your network goes, you can have that many rooms or that many devices.
Right.
So if you want to play, music throughout your whole house as you're cleaning, for example, you don't have to carry your Bluetooth speaker with you or blast it super loud. So it's, a million decibels in one room and like 4 in the other room.
Actually, my sister moved out recently, so I've been cleaning out her room and renovating it for my office.
Right.
And I took the Alexa that we had in our living room because we got a Sonos Arc, so I just integrated everything into that. So now that is the Alexa for the living room, and I took it up into my new office. And then I had to go do some stuff in the basement, so instead of just like finding a different speaker in my house, I took that one out of my office and brought it down to the basement. Right. And it's been going back and forth between the two, and if I had something else in that room, I wouldn't have to do that.
Yeah, at a certain point, you'll just have to get another Echo Dot or something
Right.
to throw in there. That's what I have. I've got I have a couple dots in rooms that I don't really listen to audio, so like sound isn't super important. Bedroom, for example, we don't really listen to music in the bedroom, but it's nice to be able to have those voice commands for, instead of getting up and shutting the lamp off or having to grab my phone, I can just tell it. And then also, in my office, I have a larger speaker connected, as well as my living room and kitchen. So we also have like a craft type room.
Sure.
That also just has a dot. So really, the other day it was kind of cool. I was walking from the bedroom. I was getting something into the living room, which is down the hall, and I was just able to say, like, as I was walking, I was like, oh, I forgot to turn the light off. Like, Alexa, turn off my light. And my partner was like, oh, you didn't have to like be next to the speaker? Like, no, there's enough speakers that anywhere I am, it just hears me, which is really cool.
Well, and the other thing is that with a lot of the like voice assistant things, Google, Alexa, stuff like that, they have like 7 or 8 antennas in them, so they can catch that sound from pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
Unless you happen to be laying in bed 5 feet away from it, talking at conversation volume, then it doesn't hear you.
Right, yeah. And you have to yell.
The amount of times that I have had to raise my voice to reach the thing 5 feet away just because of the angle or technology hating me, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's also kind of, that'll bring us to a point later, but might as well talk about it now, kind of like DIY versus professional grade equipment. DIY is cheap, but there's certain reasons it's cheap.
Right.
Part of that is they use not the best technology as far as like microphones. They're usually pretty good. They can get the job done, but something like Josh AI is much more expensive, but it's also leaps and bounds better quality-wise. So you don't have those like stress points that you do with like a cheaper Alexa or Google,
Right.
which are, the Echo Dot, for example, can go on sale for like $15. You're not going to get that with something like a Josh or a higher end system.
Right, and I've had that one for a number of years now, so like there's a possibility that it's just
old. Yeah. Yeah, and certainly I have like, I think a 2nd gen Dot. I also have like a 4th gen or 3rd gen, whatever the newest generation is. And I have like some of the larger Echo speakers, and there's a noticeable difference in not only sound quality, but also like how well it picks up my voice. So, and speed of response
power,
too. It's like instant. So
there's a bunch of cool stuff that smart audio systems can help with in the house. Some of it is getting those smart alerts. Alexa does a thing where it can alert you that there's a package at your door. If you have like a Ring camera that you can integrate into those things. There's also just the generic notifications for, inclement weather or, shopping stuff. I get notifications all the time that a book that I liked 7 years ago is on sale.
Right. Yeah, I just got one this morning.
And it definitely helps with some of the weather stuff and like receiving packages, because like if you're not like me where you're constantly stalking your email looking for that
the thing you ordered
that says that it's going to be here today, it'll light up with a special little ring. You tell it to read your notifications. It tells you that thing got delivered. So like if you're just not paying attention that day, or you forget that you ordered something, or your partner orders something and you don't know, like my wife does.
Well, also like maybe during the holidays, if you order a bunch of stuff for gifts or whatever, then like sometimes it's easy to, like if you order 20 things, then it's like what's here, what's coming. I don't remember what packages and what, or what days delivery are.
And on that note, you can actually turn on a thing, if I remember correctly, so I'm not 100% on this. You can turn on a thing that will turn off those notifications, or at least like not tell you what came, just tell you that a package came.
For like a holiday for theme
like
or whatever.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But again, not 100% on it, but I'm pretty sure I remember it being a thing.
Yeah, it would make sense. I know that you can, like it's the notifications, you can even like have like, I think they call it like privacy mode or whatever, where it won't tell you what the notification is. It'll just tell you have a notification.
Sure. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, and the other thing is that you can set specific scenes with routines, which kind of goes into like a mesh between the like speaker itself and the voice control. So like I have different routines and stuff set up with my Alexa at home, but now I can tell the Sonos to do the same thing because it is an Alexa effectively.
Right.
So like I can tell it that I'm leaving, it'll turn off all the lights. I can tell it I'm home, it turns on the kitchen and the living room because those are the two rooms that are right inside the door. And then different automation routines. So like I have the lights set to all shut off again at midnight, 2 and 4 because I don't sleep at night very much. My sister, when she lived with us, was also up all hours of the night. So like it was nice to just have that set to check and turn off every couple hours. And it would always leave the bathroom on at a certain percentage just as like a nightlight for the kids or anything like that. So being able to set those scenes within that program and pair with those speakers is nice, especially because then you can control those scenes from whatever room you have that audio in.
Right. Yeah, that is one nice thing is that I've really enjoyed is if I'm in my office and I say turn the lights off, it's not going to turn all the lights off. It's going to turn the lights off in the office. So, if my partner is working on something, she's a ceramicist, so if she's throwing a pot or whatever, the lights don't just go off and she's in the dark. She
doesn't end up in the dark.
Yeah. So the other cool thing I really like with as far as like scenes go is like geofencing. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Like up here in the UP, it gets cold. Everyone knows that. One way to save, not only be a little bit more green, save energy, but also save money, is to drop your heat down when no one's in the house in the wintertime. So having the ability to set up a geofence where if I leave this area, my heat goes down. If I come back to the area, it'll come back up. And then it'll also watch out for my partner's phone too. So if she's home and I'm gone, it's not going to go down.
Right.
So she works from home, so she's often home more than I am. But yeah, it's really interesting. And something I might have known this, but maybe I forgot. But or maybe it's a new feature. I honestly don't know. But the new Echoes, the larger ones, like the ball ones.
Yeah.
I have like the full size.
Like the Plus.
Yeah, I think it's the Echo whatever. That actually can do occupancy sensor, or has an occupancy sensor built in via audio. So there's no cameras in it. It doesn't have like a sensor in that, like movement sensor. It'll actually send out a little like subsonic like ping, and if it hears anything bounce back, like kind of like a bat, it'll know that someone's in the room, which is really interesting.
Yeah, I have an old Echo Plus, and it definitely does not do that.
Yeah.
It just has a thermostat built into it.
Yeah, mine does that,
Or
and then
thermometer. I
it
guess.
also has mine also is technically an Echo, or I also have the Eero system. It's also an Eero extender.
Oh, okay.
So it adds an additional node to my system. So I have a 3-pack. I bought the 3-pack. So I have one elsewhere in my house, different rooms. And then the one in my kitchen acts as a fourth. And so that just extends my network even further. So another cool thing with smart audio is like accessibility is really big. So, people who have visual impairments, rather than trying to find a light switch or whatever, or even if someone's in someone else's home for the first time, they don't have to worry about trying to find those things. They can just use their voice.
Yeah, actually, I had some friends over the other week because I've been running a D&D campaign, and I've had people over or like a majority of the people that are in it have been to the house before, but like a couple of people that are playing haven't. So like they would get up, they'd be like, oh, like, where's your bathroom? I'm like, oh, it's upstairs on the right. And like as they're walking to go to the bathroom, I'm telling Alexa to turn on the light because for whatever reason, there are 5 light switches in my bathroom.
In the bathroom?
Yeah.
Man.
One is the fan that doesn't work, which I need to fix. One is the shower like overhead light, and one is some other switch that I don't know what it does. And then so there's 4, but then the other one is the light for the like regular sink lights. but it's the furthest one in
Oh,
past
yeah.
all the outlets, and there's stuff plugged into those outlets. So
They're not just like all next to each other. They're
No.
all over the place.
Though there's two, and then there's outlets, and then there's two.
Oh, that's super weird.
It's so poorly designed.
Man, I only have two. I have one for my bathroom and then one for the fan, and I still never remember which one's which.
Yeah, and for most of the like new people that come to the house that aren't familiar with like the housing that we live at, because like we live on an old Air Force base, it's all kind of designed the same way.
Yeah, they're all similar, even if they're the different houses.
But pretty much everybody else that's involved in that has either lived on a base house or has been in our house, so like they know where the switches are. But that one guy that went up to go, and I was like, yeah, just like I told Alexa to turn on the bathroom, and they're like, you can do that from here? And I'm like, yeah, I can do it
from anywhere.
Pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, you could, if you have Alexa enabled on your phone, you could do it from the office and turn it on at home.
Yeah, I can run the routines and everything from my phone here. And
yeah, so that's really nice because, those types of accessibility things. Also...
it also helps with forgetfulness.
Yeah, for forgetfulness.
The people that are like, oh, did I leave the oven on? And, but it's, hey, did I leave all the lights on at home? Then you can just...
Well, if you have a smart oven, you could do that too. You just make sure it shuts off. I know, I actually have a friend who is, both of us have ADHD. He also has ADHD. He's the kind of person that would leave the oven on all day, come back.
Guilty of leaving it on for upwards of an hour after dinner sometimes.
Yeah, and so he actually has a geofence set up where when he leaves that geofence, everything in his house shuts off. So he makes sure the oven's on there and all that stuff. So if he makes breakfast, let's say in the oven, or dinner, and then they leave, it's always going to be off when he's not at home. So it's pretty cool.
Oh, the day they put a speaker in a smart oven, I will get a smart oven.
I would be shocked if there wasn't. I'm sure that there already is at some device out there.
Probably.
It makes sense. I mean, the thing that I really like about everything becoming smart is the need for less devices. So, having, let's say, like, having a speaker built into certain things makes it so you don't have to have an additional speaker, additional device.
Taking up space on the counter, outlets in the kitchen.
The awesome thing with Sonos, for example, integrating with Alexa, integrating with all those different programs, is you don't have to have an Alexa. In the old days, I'll say old days, a few years ago, of smart speakers, in order to have an external speaker, you had to physically plug it in. So you had to also have a smart speaker, and you could have like a line in for, or line out for other speakers. But with Sonos, you can just integrate it, so you don't need to have an Alexa also in the same room. So I'm all for speakers and that kind of stuff. Like, if I can have my smart stuff built into a kitchen appliance, then I don't have to have an Alexa sitting on my counter.
And I think the old style of Sonos used to force the line in, like you used it as a speaker separately from the voice control.
Exactly.
But now they've done their own integrations where
it just makes sense. It doesn't make sense to have separate devices. Nobody wants that. The other accessibility feature, one of the other ones, I'm sure there's things I haven't thought about, but for elderly, aging in place.
Aging in place, yeah.
EcoSmart Home is very up to date on that type of technology. We do that all the time. Somebody, rather than wearing a life alert, I know like my grandma wouldn't, if she had one, would never wear it. She would be too embarrassed. She just wouldn't like it. She's stubborn enough where she'd leave it on her bedside or whatever. And then if she did fall, then she doesn't have it.
Right.
With smart speakers, you can just have that accessibility where you can be anywhere if you have them throughout the house, and contact your kid or grandkid or the police or whatever, ambulance, and not have to worry about wearing something like that or remembering to charge it or whatever. So that's really nice for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and some of those more so the voice control systems, as opposed to like Sonos or like strictly speakers that can also do voice stuff. They can actually listen for specific sounds. So like they can listen for a glass break, or they can listen for like I think a thud. of a decent volume.
Yeah.
And that can help with triggering specific reactions, like somebody dropping a glass and breaking it. It could be somebody has fallen. So then it can, prompt to see if that person is okay. If there isn't the correct trigger word or anything within so much time, then it can alert whoever it needs to alert.
Yeah, exactly. And it also kind of provides peace of mind for whoever, family is responsible. So, for example, my grandma's in a home now, but before she was, most of my family would drop in on her every once in a while. They also had like a nurse that would come to the house and make sure she's taking her meds and all that stuff. But with having an Alexa, if we did that, we would have been able to drop in at any time, like, "Hey, Grandma, how's it going? How are you feeling?" And or if they're okay with it, like one of the Echo shows or whatever, something like that with a camera, you could drop in and physically see them. So yeah, it just provides a lot of peace of mind for not only the family, but also, people as you age. Like you don't want to be in an uncomfortable or like not in your home. People want to be at home as long as they can, and those types of devices really kind of extend the time someone can be in their home, which leads to presumably a happier life.
Happier life, longer life.
Yeah.
It's also nice for the people that can't make a move multiple states or multiple hours closer to being with that person, so they can have the convenience of, or I guess not even the convenience, but like the ability to stay where they are and where they need to be, but also take care of who they need to take care of.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the luckily my partner's grandma, she's in California, and luckily they have family near, but if they didn't, that would be something that we'd probably look into for her, so she could just check in on her grandma without having to
be able to
physically need there or any closer. So it's really nice for that kind of stuff. All right, so when we're talking about smart audio, smart speakers, voice assistant, stuff like that, there's really kind of like 3 tiers. The first is going to be Eco or an integration company like us could help with any of these tiers if you don't want to do anything yourself, or you don't want to learn how to do it, or you just want the peace of mind of having someone help you set it up. We can do that. But the first tier is really what we call DIY, where you can buy a speaker, set it up in 5 minutes, and be rolling on with
whatever
audio.
It is, yeah.
So that's going to be something like a single device. The way I started was I had one device in my living room that I used to listen to music primarily. It was a Bluetooth speaker, and it did have access to it had a microphone, so I could use like Siri integration through it or whatever.
Yeah, because you have the UE booms.
Those were the first really like
smart
audio.
stuff,
Like I always had Bluetooth speakers, but nothing like smart.
Right.
And so, that's like really the first level. If you want to step it up a little bit, there's really from there, you're looking at like multi-room stuff. A little bit more advanced. It takes a few devices, a little bit of integration, and
an hour of futzing around.
Yeah, exactly.
And several apps depending on what you go
Yeah,
with.
exactly. Yeah, setting this up to set up this, give permissions here and there.
But once it's all done, it's great.
Yeah, it's great.
I had to go through a 10 or 15-minute process of getting the Sonos to actually recognize itself as an Alexa speaker.
Yeah.
Because when I first did everything and I integrated the skill into it, I thought I was done. But I was like, hey, play music play music in the living room. And it'd be like, oh, sorry, this speaker's not online. I'm talking to you. I'm doing the thing. It says it's here. And I had to go back through the process, and then it kicked everything over, and now it works just fine. Yeah,
so that advanced kind of like middle tier is where I would say most people that get into smart speakers are going to end up. You and I are in that category. We have several speakers. They're integrated. They have voice capabilities, but it's really not like custom integration. There's not custom software.
And I'm kind of transitioning from the medium back into the simple, and then eventually go from the simple back into the medium kind of tier, because with having Alexa and having those multi-room like setups, and then switching into like the Sonos stuff, because taking the one I put in the living room and then taking out the Echo that I had in the living room, just making that transition in, and we help people with doing stuff like that as well all the time. I did an install for a guy out in Little Lake, which is really small town, like 25 miles from here. And he went from having one Echo show and like an old school like wired speaker system. We did a whole Sonos setup for his whole house. So we put like an amp in for controlling the outdoor speakers. We put an Arc Ultra, some Air 100s, and a Sub Mini in his TV room, which that is not a super big room, and it bumps now.
Oh yeah,
it's great.
Those small like Arc systems. I mean, any of the Sonos systems are wonderful, but yeah, the Sub Mini, like even like you said, the Arc that you used.
We put the Ultra in.
Oh, the Ultra, yeah. Those things are wild. They're very good.
Yeah, we put on the ending scene from Top Gun.
Oh, nice.
Like we do at all the home shows.
Yeah.
I was just quoting the whole thing, and they're like, "You've seen this a couple times, right?" And I'm like, "I've seen this movie like 45 times."
Yeah. It's a good like showcase of audio.
Yeah, of like what it can do. And then we put a couple Air 100s in his family room to like have that transitional audio from each room. He's got a Move 2 in his sun porch. And he made an impulse decision at the end of everything. Instead of replacing the old school stuff or like transitioning the old school stuff into his guest house, he just bought a Beam. So he can put music from his TV room all the way through every section of his house, even into the guest house.
Yeah, without having separate systems.
Yeah, without having to do anything different.
Yeah, that's really nice.
It was so much fun to set up. It took me like 2 days.
Yeah, that's awesome. I really like audio is something that's like very important. It I think gets overlooked oftentimes, especially when you're, let's say you're building or retrofitting a house to be smart. It's oftentimes like one of the last things people think of. They think of lights and shades and thermostat, things like that. But audio really is important. It can really transform a space. Not only for the capabilities that we've talked about, but also it's just sounds great. Like when you enter a space and it sounds really, really good, it's a totally different experience than if you enter a space and there's like one Bluetooth speaker in the corner. Right. So.
And then going into like the super advanced systems, like then you get people that are more audiophiles.
Yeah.
Like the guy that we are actually still currently doing a project for here in Marquette.
Yeah, the home theater and audio throughout the house.
Yeah, it's like a whole TV room. He's already got the Sonos like control, like the little doodads that they put in the wall so that they can control audio in each room. But he's got 5 in-wall speakers. 4 in the ceiling, 1 in the wall, an in-wall subwoofer as well. But it's not just your standard, like with the grills where you still see them in the wall or in the ceiling. Like these ones are that step above where they're actually set into the wall, mudded over, painted over, and treated just like a part of the wall.
Yeah.
So it's super cool to walk into that room and only see 2 speakers, but you're hearing sound from so many places.
Yeah.
Because he has stacks in the front too, just to add in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it really is that like next level. If someone's super into movies or entertaining, like that's something that a lot of those people are looking for.
Yeah, and those were a lot of fun to install.
Yeah, they're great. They're great. Once you get into that, it's like, we love tech. That's why we work in this business. But like, it makes me giddy, like putting in those stuff. It's like, I can't wait to see the final product. It's going to be awesome. Or like, I might get more excited than the customer even. All right, well, thanks for listening or watching, everybody. Feel free to subscribe if this content brings you any joy or knowledge, or you just like listening to us. We always appreciate every minute that you listen. But otherwise, we'll be back next episode, and we'll see you.
Awesome. Thanks for coming in, Mike.